Welcome to my case study where I'm looking at laying selections on Betfair at $1.01 to see if I can make a profit just with a scattergun approach across a lot of sports and markets. So this is week 2. Just a reminder of the case study rules. I'm only looking at sports, I'm not looking at racing. There's a reason for this and I've explained it in a previous video. I've been told that racing markets, this is definitely not profitable. Now, the second thing is I am laying all markets that do not have different levels in it. So total markets where you can choose the total, or handicap markets where you can choose the handicap. But every other market is fair game. And I get my lays in as early as possible when the market's open. So the testing over 2 weeks, so 14 days, has been 127,000 bets placed. Now, out of these, we've matched almost 20,000 and we had 249 winners, which is a little bit over 1%. Now, the good thing is it's ended up in a profit of $36, which is great. Now, it's always nice to see a profit, but it's only been 2 weeks. And when I show you the chart in the next slide, we will understand why you can't really base anything on these results. It's only been such a short time frame that I wouldn't want to think this can continue yet. So let's jump into the chart. So here's the chart, and you'll see that it basically went nowhere for the first 4,500 bets. So just sideways, went a little bit up, went a little bit down, a few losing runs in there. Then it went on a nice up run, which it did for quite a few bets, probably about 13,000 bets that got matched, and you can see that it has started a downtrend there. So right now, it's very hard to tell over 2 weeks, is this just a short-term variation in the results, and we've had a bit of variance that's been positive for us during this test period. Will that downtrend at the end continue to go down, or will it continue to go up? Now, another week will be interesting to see where it goes and give us a bit of an idea. But right now, this is just a watch and see what's happening. Yes, I am placing real money on it. It's only very small, $1 lays. So I'm really only risking 1 cent in each of these. So it's not too much of an issue to do this, to just collect the data and see what happens. But again, this method is probably not that scalable. You don't even get matched on these $1 bets all of the time fully. So I've also been running a $1.02 lay method for the last few days. It was in a comment from the last video that people would like to see how this was progressing. So I thought, let's throw it up. And in 4 days, I've placed over 20,000 bets. Now, just over 3,000 of those have been matched, which is great, and we had 75 of those actually get matched. And it's ended up in a profit of $3, which is not too bad when you're only risking 2 cents. But again, it's 4 days. It's not a lot. Here's the chart of the 2 cent method, and it's essentially took off really nicely at the beginning, but it's had some very long losing runs in there, which is understandable. And you can see it's been negative for quite a bit, and the biggest drawdown there is from what, $11 down to -6. So we're talking about a $17 drawdown, and it's only just showing a profit. So long time still to go in this. It's only been 4 days. I'm collecting the data. We'll see where we end up. So again, a comment was, can I have a look at a bit of a breakdown of the $1.01 results? So I've broken down these to just showing the top 5. So let's have a look. I've broken it down to both sports and market types. So if we look at sports, most of the bets are going on to soccer. So 16,000 of the 19,000 have basically been on soccer that have been matched, and it's kind of understandable. there's a lot of markets in soccer. When you look at the markets down the bottom, you can see there's a lot going into the over-under goal markets, and a lot's getting matched in there. And that's because there's a lot of trading that happens in those markets. Those markets generally sit very close to $1.01 anyway, such as the over and under 8.5 goals. It's not very often that 8.5 goals or 8 to 9 goals happen in a soccer match. So you're going to get matched on those earlier in the game and a lot quicker. But let's have a look at the sports. So you have soccer. We had 203 winners from soccer, and that's showing a profit of $29.89. Now that's where a majority of the profit has come, and that's really good. Tennis has matched over 1,200 selections, and we've had 13 winners from that, and it's got a slight loss of only 62 cents, so it's roughly break even. Esports hasn't gone so well. 800 selections have matched, we've won on 7. The profit's negative $2.44. This is one area that doesn't have enough liquidity, and we don't get fully matched even when we do win, so it hasn't done too well, but we've had 800 selections matched. Basketball has been interesting. Basketball tends to have runs in it, and teams can get ahead early, and that's why I've had some matches where I've had 629 selections, and 13 of those the other team has come back to win, and it's shown a nice profit of $6.19. So that's been a very good sport so far based on the amount of selections to that profit. And then darts, interestingly, 139 selections and 4 winners, again showing a small profit. Now there's lots of other sports that are in there. You've got cricket, you've got the NFL, you've got baseball, you've got a whole bunch of stuff that's gone in there. But not all of those have high enough liquidity to get matched all the time, and they just don't have enough games to have got into the top selections list. Now if we look at the markets are all pretty much match odds, which covers a lot of sports. So we've got 3,288 match odds markets that we've actually been matched in, winning in 37, so it's $2, which is not bad. And then it's all soccer markets. We're basically looking at the very high goal markets at that point. All of them have over 1,000 selections and varying number of winners there. Now, the reason that you get the high winners on the 7.5 goals, they tend to get matched very early in the match. And it's done quite well, it's been pretty lucky, but you can have a look, 6.5. You would expect that we may have got matched a bit more on that, but we haven't, and only had 2 winners. So that's ended up with minus $9. There's just not enough selections in there yet to make any assumptions on these are good markets, these are terrible markets. We've got to give it at least a few more months to really get those selection numbers up around the 20, 30, 40,000 selection mark. So now a little bit of a glimpse into what can be done. The next chart that I'm going to show is using my own models that I have on these sports, where I've predicted that an upset could occur. And then I've tried to match those up with the markets where I have been able to lay 101, just to see, is it more useful than just a random scattergun approach? So here is my chart, which shows basically a much smoother curve and trend going up. There are a few losing runs in there, but this is by applying my own models and analysis to what I will lay, and laying the team that I do not think should win. So even if that is a fave or it's the long shot, if it gets down to $1 and my analysis says that it shouldn't be winning, because I've done that pre-game and I have models that have determined that which team is the better team, I'm able to find teams which have hit the $1 one and then move back out. Now all that analysis is done pre-game, doesn't take into account what's actually happening in the game and injuries and such. But I can basically say these favourites are vulnerable. They get down to $1.01, it's laid it, and they go out. So I'll always, instead of being on both sides or 3 selections for soccer with team A, team B in the draw, instead of being on all of them, I will pick a particular one that I think is going to lose, and I will only lay that. So that brings my number of selections down considerably, and as you can see, the profit looks a lot nicer and a lot more stable. Now, it does go side to side there for a little bit, especially towards the end, before that big jump up in the end, but it looks nicer. So that one gets us almost up to $50 in profit, which is much better than the scattergun approach and much better than the 102 results. So it'll be interesting to see if this continues. It's still way too early to start ramping up and scaling it to a much higher level. All I want to do is collect data for a few months, see what happens, and hopefully, if this continues, then start to scale up on these games that I know I can have a much better opportunity of getting matched and it reversing. Hopefully this video has been entertaining and useful for you, and it's shown you a bit of an insight into what you can do by just playing at $1.01. And I'll have an update next week. Again, I'll just keep these coming out until I start to refine it and look at what I can do better. So hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. If you want to see more of these, please subscribe and like the video, and I'll catch you next week. Thanks.